What up, what up, what up, you guys? It's Blackwing 2040. Welcome back to the Power Rangers Marathon. Today, it's the final review of the Disney era, and that is going to be Power Rangers RPM. Now, before I get into my review of RPM and everything, I gotta say my experience with RPM was very different from everybody else's, because when RPM was airing, I didn't even know it was airing or not, because right after Jungle Fury ended, and this was back when, Toon Disney was starting to become Disney XD, there was no teaser trailer, there was no announcement, no nothing. And the only way I found out about RPM was through a commercial ad about the toys. And I was like, wait a minute, Power Rangers is still on? But what channel is it on? So of course it wasn't on Toon Disney. Then the only channel it had to be on was ABC Kids, and lucky enough I was able to find it, but I was never able to catch it because it was in such a bad time slot at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So at that time, that's around the time Saturday morning cartoons were done. So I never got to really experience RPM back in the year when it was airing. But lucky enough, I did get the chance to watch it. I tried many times to watch it, you guys, like over and over, to get to the beginning to end. I wasn't able to gravitate, because yes, it was different. It was very different. I never understood like the junction of, the post-apocalyptic and everything, but as I actually got a chance to watch it, literally sit down, give it a shot, watch it from beginning all the way to the end, I realized, I'm like, okay, now I see why people say this is one of the best Ranger seasons ever made. I get it now. I totally get it. And after rewatching it again for a second time, I'm like, yeah, this season's top tier. Hands down. It's one of the best. So anyway, that's my backstory in RPM. So let's talk about these suits. I literally, with these suits, I was immediately thinking like, Power Rangers and Fast and Furious. Because, I mean, look, if you look, yes, it's post-apocalyptic and everything, but their vehicles, yes, the Zords are basically like race cars and everything, but they're human cars. Like, Scott has a speeder, Dylan has a muscle car, Summer has a motorcycle, Flynn has a Jeep. Like, this is basically Fast and the Furious here. Don't tell me this is not Fast and the Furious. This show had more car action than Turbo ever did. I'm serious. But overall, back to the suits. The suits are great. They're pretty great. And the number designation. I'm a big advocate for number designation on the suits and everything. And I find that pretty cool. And of course, I love how Gemma and Gemma suits are way different. How their vehicles are based off, a helicopter and a jet, and their helmets are basically like, pilot helmets. So that's really, really cool for as far as helmet aesthetic and everything. So I like it. It's really cool. Now for the story, this story it took me, as many times I tried to start watching RPM, it really was hard to connect the dots and everything. But this story hits the ground running, and it's a sad story in the beginning as well, but all works out in the end later on. But the way how it starts, okay, basically it starts off, we're right in the middle of a battlefield outside the domed city of Corinth, where an evil computer virus named Vengex is literally taken over the entire world of all electronics, literally killing everybody, and whoever's a survivor has to head to the city of Corinth. And you got jets flying around, Vengex robots flying around, shooting down pilots. It's just madness. I was just like, this is sick. This is beyond sick. I'm like, Disney allowed this? Like, yes, they did. They went above and beyond with this one. And we originally, we get introduced to our Rangers in bits and pieces throughout the first couple of episodes. And still in like the first half of the season, we start to know, we get origin episodes on who the Rangers really are, except for Dylan. His origin, basically, it's a mystery, but he really develops as the story progresses. But as for everybody else, Scott, Summer, Ziggy, Flynn, and Dr. K, they all have their own specific origin episodes. And each character plays a specific role in that character's origin. And I really like that about about the origin episodes. But man, just having to, it's like I said, it's Fast and Furious mixed in with Terminator, having like computers taking over the world and everything. It is just madness, but it is crazy, and I like it. I also love the area where they filmed basically the wastelands of the city of Corinth, because basically outside the dome of Corinth, it's basically completely abandoned. Nothing but ash and sand and dirt. No human life. Barely any human life, if I might say. You're lucky enough to find people who are alive outside of Corinth, but if you don't, you gotta stay in the dome. But other than that, man, this season was awesome. It's just awesome. So let's talk about these characters. First up, our Red Ranger, Scott Truman. Scott, of course, another brother as the Red Ranger. Respect. Scott is a take charge, no nonsense, and sometimes knows how to settle and have fun. But when it comes to his Ranger duties, he makes sure that his Ranger duties come first and gets the job done. And Scott's origin is that his father, who's the colonel, basically approves Scott's brother over him, and Scott tries so much to impress his father that his father barely even notices him. So even when Scott is the Red Ranger of the team, he still barely gets notices. But when he actually decides to do something to make sure his father notices him, he realizes that it was selfish of me to do this. And as the show progresses, and how his father realizes, my son is really put out there, putting his life out on the line, and I haven't been giving him the credit he deserves. Scott really is the GOAT Red Ranger. He is a GOAT. And I just love how in the show, nobody touches his car. Nobody touches his car. And sadly enough, someone does. And I'm going to get to that person in the meantime. But yeah, nobody touches Scott's car. Ever. Alright, next up is Flynn. Flynn is basically the heart of the team. You would see Flynn as, the simple mechanic, but his special charm comes because he's Scottish. Hope I didn't offend any, Scottish viewers or anything. But Flynn, he is just a ball of energy. He's smart. He helps out any way that he can. He's also able to help, develop new Ranger tech with Dr. K. Flynn is just awesome. And his origin story is how, he always wanted to, be a hero. And because he was a comic book reader, and I kind of find that relatable. And his father always felt like that, this whole superhero fantasy for him is just ridiculous, because him having to squander 3 jobs, or I'm pretty sure it's 3 jobs, and when he decides to take it upon himself to go rescue people who are still outside of the dome in the early episode, really his father comes to realization, you really are a hero. Like, there's always something with Rangers and their parents. And I like that with this season. The season goes in with that. So let's move on to our next Ranger, Summer. Summer is a very special individual because she starts out as a spoiled rich girl, and plus she's not the only girl on the team, but she, as the show begins, she is the only girl on the team. And from her to go from spoiled rich girl and everything to now deciding to actually care for other people besides herself, she is strong-willed, dedicated, and cares about everyone, especially Dylan, since Dylan is like a big mystery man to the team. But Summer really knows how to take care of business, especially has a big heart for helping others, no matter who they are, whether they be rich or poor. And I really love Summer. Alright, next up is Ziggy. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I first, actually watched RPM, I didn't really like Ziggy because he just felt very annoying, and I felt like his combat was always just so, out of place, but it's his wit, it's his charm that makes him such a crucial point to the team. And Ziggy's finest moment comes where he questions Dr. K about the big 10-foot explosion every time he morphs, and especially when he tells Dr. K that their Zords have eyes, like big, googly anime eyes. And I love Ziggy. I really do. He's very witty. He talks a lot. He runs on and on so much. It's just, he is hilarious. Ziggy is one of my top 10 favorite Green Rangers, and I can honestly say I did underestimate him. And plus, he has a big heart. He really does have a big heart, because throughout the show, he tries multiple times to get Dr. K to be his friend, and she always finds him annoying. Heck, she doesn't even call him by his name until like the very end of the season. So I would say that's good development for Ziggy. Alright, next up is Dylan. Now, Dylan, of course, is the mystery man who has no specific idea of where he came from or his origin. But it turns out him and his sister were kidnapped by Vengex, and they got infected with, cybernetic implants. So he's basically a Vengex hybrid, half human, half robot. So is his sister, and I'm gonna get to his sister real soon. But Dylan, he may be, very brooding and everything, but Summer, I love how the way Summer decides. Summer's like the only person that's kind of able to reach out to him, literally try to ask him, you okay? What's going on? And the way how he, starts to pick up the pieces of finding out his past and who he really is, it's really, really great development. He starts to step away from being such a solo act and being Mr. I don't want to open up to nobody, to being like, we got to do this. Let's get this done. I got to figure out who I am. You guys are going to help me out. And that's the cool thing about Dylan. It's just really great. And of course, he's the one that actually ends up taking Scott's car in the beginning of the season. But him and Scott have such a bicker rivalry. It's just hilarious. Excuse the phone, guys. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, Dylan's just great. All right, now next characters is Jem and Gemma. Now, again, these two characters I didn't really like at all either, because I found they had this quirk where they always end up finishing each other's sentences. That really annoyed me a lot, but I started to get used to it a bit as I watched through the season, and it slowly starts to die down a bit. They're very energetic, trigger-happy twins who are also Dr. K's best friends. Heck, they were the only friends that she ever had, and they're just a ball of energy. They're just like two balls of energy ready to explode. And I love their fighting skills, and I love how Gemma is actually able to work with Flynn to see the other side of him, seeing that he's not just a simple mechanic. And with Jem, I like how he's able to help Scott, try to get his father's approval to see that, he's more than just the leader of the team. He's actually doing something. But both of them together, they're really two awesome characters. And I always love a duo of gold and silver. Heck, they're the first gold and silver duo on the same team. So that's pretty cool. Alright, let's move on to the allies. First ally is Dr. K. And with Dr. K, her origin episode is really one of the most saddest episodes in Power Rangers history. The girl gets I wouldn't say kidnapped, but you could say she kind of gets recruited by a government organization called Alphabet Soup, and they just hold her against her will, and all she wanted to do was go outside, but they kept telling her, no, the sun will make you sick. I'm like, what? No! Just let the girl go outside and get some fresh air. You can't hold her here against her will. That's basically kidnapping. It's a sad, and when she decided to, create the Vengex virus, that was just basically her, point of saying, like, alright, I had enough. I gotta get out of here. And what you guys have been telling me has been all a complete lie. So yes, the whole aspect of the season is her fault, but then again, it's the government's fault for not letting her go outside and lying to her in the first place. So it's not Dr. K's fault. It really isn't. But she is a great mentor. She provides the battlefield tactics every time the Rangers are fighting and everything. She creates the weaponry. She created the gear. She created Vengex. And of course, she's one of the best mentors. Really, she's awesome. And I love her build up relationship of between her and Ziggy. It's really great. It's funny and it's witty. It's awesome. Alright, and the last ally is Colonel Truman, who is Scott's father. Like I said, Colonel Truman basically spends his time in the control tower trying to figure out plans, negotiating plans with Dr. K on how to make their next moves against Vengex. Of course, sometimes he can be a little bit unhopeful on the Rangers' actions, sometimes thinking that they can't really make it, but they always prove him wrong. And I just love how he just decides, at the end of the season, he decides to, promote his son Scott to head of Eagle Squad because, it's what his brother would have wanted. Because if his brother saw so much potential in Scott, I think it's about time that Colonel Truman decided to see the good in Scott as well. And of course, the actor has been part of the Power Rangers franchise for a long time, mostly in the Disney era, but he is a phenomenal actor, and it's always great to see him again. Alright, so that's all the allies. Now for the villains. First villain is Vengex, the computer virus, the main villain of the season. Vengex is a cold, ruthless computer being that wants all humanity destroyed. And I love the moment where Dr. K and Vengex actually see each other face to face in during the finale, and how Dr. K says you're just a sprinkle of electrons, silicon, copper, and wiring. I'm just like, ooh, that is harsh. But Vengex he takes no for an answer. He doesn't tolerate failure. He's a no-nonsense villain. He wants his goal, and that is just to destroy humanity. And boy, he is ruthless and fearless. And he's definitely a top-tier villain. He's definitely up there with the likes of Master Org, Astronema, Queen Banshira, and Ranzik. He does not take no for an answer. Alright, next villain is Tanaya 7 / Tanaya 15. Tanaya is Dylan's sister. She was blind before she got the cybernetic implants put in her. Her vision got, upgraded, and now she's basically supposed to be an infiltration attack bot to sneak into the Power Rangers and destroy them from within. But of course, that doesn't happen. So her story arc develops as she just finds out that Dylan has this pocket watch, and it comes with a key. And when he puts the key in, it plays a specific melody, and that's the main symbol that's helping Dylan remember who he is and where he came from and who his sister is, which is actually Tanaya. And I love her story arc is kind of basically like Corone from In Space. She got kidnapped, she got turned evil, and then when the Rangers found her and they reveal that she is Dylan's sister, she starts to defect to the good side, and then she gets kidnapped and get more cybernetic upgrades, and she starts attacking the Rangers again, and then you guys get it. So when Dr. K developed the cure to erase the cybernetic implants in Dylan and herself, it all worked out in the end. And I just love her development as a I love human villains. Human villains are basically one of the best characters in Power Rangers. They're the best. All right, I'm gonna bring up these two characters together, Shifter and Crunch. They don't really do much. They're just basically the typical general characters. I mean, the only thing I could say that's good to mention is that Shifter, he does kind of get, step out on his own and tries to, take out Vengex himself, but he ends up failing anyway. Scott demolishes him. And Crunch, he doesn't really do much. These two are just there. They don't really do much at all. They're just your typical generals that just need to be there. And the last villain to talk about is Kilobyte. Now, Kilobyte, he hates Tanaya 7. He always tries to show that she's very incompetent. He's very loyal to Vengex, and he really just likes to get under Tanaya's skin. many times over and tries to prove her wrong. And it's always interesting to see, discord among villains. And with her and Kilobyte, Kilobyte sometimes always knows how to come out on top. I mean, with Kilobyte, he did come in late in the show, but I still say he's still good. He's still menacing. He's definitely one of those, specific loyal generals, and I think Kilobyte is pretty cool. So anyway, that's all the characters and my rating. This season is GOAT, guys. This season is very GOAT. And with this being, the final season of the Disney era, they went above and beyond. They did what they had to do, and they knocked it out of the park this season. Because really, after this season, we didn't really get a new season of Power Rangers. We just got basically a revised version of the first season of MMPR with just added special effects to make it look, modern. And it was, But thank you guys so much for watching this RPM review. In the comment section below, what did you love about Power Rangers RPM? Who was your favorite character? Who was your favorite villain? And, what was your overall... How were you able to find RPM? Because I know RPM was a hard season to find after Jungle Fury ended. So if you were able to find RPM when it first came on, let me know in the comment section below. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned because we're about to enter one of the hardest, saddest eras in Power Rangers history, the Neo Saban era. And boy, oh boy, the franchise takes a turn for the worst. So it's gonna be a roller coaster of emotions with that era, and I'm not looking forward to reviewing those seasons. Maybe my opinion will change for some of them, but overall that era was not great at all. So stay tuned for my review on Power Rangers Samurai. I'm thinking of probably making just one review of both Samurai and Super Samurai, since they're both... The story basically continues in both of those seasons anyway. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to be notified. And as always, I am Vengeance, I am Darkness, I am Blackwing. Stay golden, and may the power protect you.